You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. We certainly appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for coming to the big circus tent in the sky, the giant podcast, as it were, that encompasses pretty much around the world. I mean, people listen to this darn thing all over the world. I don't even know why, because half the time, do they even understand what I'm saying? I'm waiting for like someone to approach me in public someday and go, I lived in Mao, China, and like Mao, China is not even a city. That's an old leader, but I just made it up, so I'm going with it. And I learned American English because of you, and also because of you, I can't speak it well either. So anyway, guys, we have an amazing show, an amazing author, and some of the cool stuff that she does on the show. So we're going to be talking to her. But until we get to her, I want to remind you that the Chris Voss Show turns 14 years in August, I think it is. August or September. We're trying to get the date out of when that was exactly. There's somewhere it's written down. But we're going to turn 14 years old. And damn it, we're a goddamn teenager. And we're going to act like it, and we're going to get bratty and ornery and say, hey, man, we're putting 2 to 3 podcasts out a day. We are like a radio show. We just pound out the podcast. We just had the Tom Clancy authors on recently. There's some other cool, amazing stuff. And we have another amazing author on today. The brilliantest minds, and they're going to make you smarter and sexier. And if you just listen and you focus really deeply into each episode, you're going to feel your brain expand, and people are going to walk up to you and go, man, you glow. Your just skin's healthier, your mind's healthier. That Alzheimer hasn't kicked in yet. It's just going to work so good for you. So for the show to your family, friends, and relatives, go to youtube.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, the big LinkedIn newsletter. And what else is there? Goodreads, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok. Go follow us on TikTok. She is the author of one of the newest books that's come out May 31st, 2022. Bridget Cook-Burch is on the show with us today. She is a co-author of the book with Gary Lee Price, Divine Turbulence. This sounds like a Jack Ryan movie with, who's that guy, Han Solo? Didn't he do a movie about, was that the presidential one where he's in the plane? Anyway, I'm just joking around. The title of the book is called Divine Turbulence, Navigating the Amorphous Winds of Life. Did I pronounce that right? Amorphous? Amorphous. Yes. Divine Turbulence, Navigating the Amorphous Winds of Life. Bridget is on the show with us today. You can hear in the background there chiming in about how I mispronounced her book name. And her clients call her the Book Whisperer. There you go. She is a New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author, mentor, humanitarian, and speaker known for riveting stories of transformation. Her powerful work has been showcased on Oprah, Dateline, Netflix, Discovery Plus, A&E, CNN, GMA, NPR, and in People, among many others. Now she's on the TCVS show, the Chris Voss Show. All the acronyms there.
There you go.
There you go. As the CEO and founder of Your Inspired Story, she hosts Inspired Writers Retreats, group coaching, executive coaching, and more. Her greatest passion is helping you discover the importance of your story and to become leaders in your own communities and worldwide. You can find out more at her website at yourinspiredstory.com. Welcome to the show, Bridget. How are you?
I'm so good, especially after talking to you. I love your high energy.
We have a lot of energy. It's the coffee or it's the cocaine. It's not sure. No, don't do cocaine, folks. That's a joke. We don't do drugs in the Chris Voss Show. We just do really higher powered coffee. We should get a plug-in for your Inspired Retreat. You want to give that .com out?
Sure. It's just simple, inspiredwritersretreat.com.
And do you have any other place you want people to find you on the interwebs in the sky?
just that yourinspiredstory.com is a perfect place. It encompasses just about everything you would want to know.
There you go. So welcome to the show, Bridget. You've actually been here for a while, but I thought I'd throw that in there. You've written quite a few books, actually, haven't you?
I have. Stories of transformation, all true stories at this point, although I'm working on a little fictional series in all my spare time. But I have loved writing stories of transformation. So former skinhead who changed his life, now he teaches kids to stay out of gangs. The daughter of a serial killer and how she overcame that skeleton in her closet.
Holy crap.
The 19th wife of 65 women. That book is called The Witness Wore Red, and it's about Rebecca Musser, who was able to put Warren Jeffs behind bars for life for 20 years, and then Divine Turbulence.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to go there. The 19th wife of, what was it? 19th wife of 60?
Of 65. Mm-hmm.
Holy crap! Well, good for her for putting that dude away. I when I was in Utah, and it was before his time, and I think I knew, wasn't the Allreds? Well, there was the Allreds, and then his family, and he was the son, and I think we knew the father through construction and stuff. Anyway, this is pretty awesome. So we're going to be talking about the book today, Divine Turbulence: Navigating the Amorphous Winds of Life. So talk to us about what was the motivation behind this book.
Well, it was fascinating, actually. Gary and his wife, Lisa, came to my Inspired Writers Retreat, and Lisa, his wife, has an incredible book. And yet, as the weekend progressed, we realized Gary had such an extraordinary book and something that needed to be told to American society and actually worldwide society right now. Took us a few years to create it and draft it and really make it good. And COVID, all of that. But it's really wonderful because it's about no matter what you've been through, that you have the power to reach down and to lift another person. And in this culture that we've had lately, where people just destroy one another, it is so refreshing to have some beautiful accountability and responsibility for our own lives, and then to be our brother's keeper.
There you go.
That was the impetus when I heard that story. He comes from a lot of you've read about it, but he comes from murder, suicide, mother and stepfather.
Holy crap.
In Mannheim, Germany on an army base, and then was sent back to Montpelier, Idaho, from the frying pan into this like fiery den of torment and abuse. And no one knew because the adults were all working at night.
Wow.
And so he had to survive some pretty intense torture for quite some time. And then he had his own liberation day, his own emancipation, and he had to decide what he was going to do for the rest of his life. So he found God, and he also found art, and it became his savings grace. It's really awesome.
Wow. Now, how old was he when his parents had a murder-suicide? This is kind of, I got to put my head around this.
He was 6 years old.
Wow.
So he was a young kid, and had a little baby brother, and all of a sudden they were bereft. Came back to live with parents in Montpelier and Ketchum, Idaho. And they were half siblings, so then they were separated. And there's a whole incredible saga with that too. That has to do with responsibility, because what do you tell if you're a grandparent? What do you tell your grandchild that happened to your mother and father when there was a murder-suicide?
Wow.
And so they did the best they could, but they told something that was not the truth. And so the two brothers meet later in life, and they've got two different origin stories.
Holy crap. This is like one of those movies or something.
Oh,
or maybe it should be a movie.
Yeah.
So does he know that? I mean, I don't want to give away parts of the book. If you want to, make them teasers to, people go buy the book, they got to read it. But does he know that at the time when he's 6, that what's taken place?
Actually, it happened in front of Gary.
Holy
when he
shit.
was sick, but his baby brother didn't witness any of it and was too young.
Wow.
So he just took that whole story hook, line, and sinker until he was an adult.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a thing to have to find out later. You got to explain to somebody else who didn't know. And
Gary even, sorry to interrupt. He even asked the military for a police report, because he's like, am I crazy? Did I remember this right? I was young. Did I remember this wrong or differently? And the police report not only verified, but gave him more details, to be
Wow.
able to understand, but still
Wow.
was heartbreaking for his brother.
But then he goes to I think you said Idaho, right?
Hmm.
And is he being adopted at that point? Is he going through?
His mom's first husband is the one who took him in.
Okay.
Yep. And just showed up as a beautiful father to him. But he worked
Mhm.
nights, and he had remarried, and his wife had a son.
Uh-huh.
And that half brother of Gary's turned out to be his nemesis. It was a
Wow.
terrible situation.
So torture and abuse and enslavement and so he suffers through this, and then out of it he when does he break through? When does he find getting out and rebuilding what semblance of a life he can?
Yeah, well, at first, he didn't know what to do, and he
Hmm.
just had to go along with the abuse. But his brother was 7 years older than him, and
Hmm.
he actually ended up getting married right out of high school and left home. And all of a
Hmm.
sudden, after all these years of abuse, Gary was free.
Wow.
And it was for high school for him was this time like, who am I? What am I all about? His
Yeah.
whole life had been relegated since his mother's death.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden he's like getting to explore and decide and ask questions about God, ask questions about life. And he had some teachers that saved his life because he was suicidal even in third grade. But there
Wow.
were incredible teachers at AJ Winters elementary school, and then other teachers that believed in his art when he was in high school, and he became regionally very famous for his painting. And
Mm.
then when he found clay and was able to start to put the worlds in his mind into something three-dimensional, it's just magic. Like his work is in the Hong Kong Library,
Oh,
outside the
wow.
Vatican, and
Hmm.
multiple churches, cemeteries, arboretums, the space museums, all kinds of things. It's wonderful.
Wow. And so he basically turned, just a very dark beginning of his life into something beautiful that he can share with other people that they can also be inspired by the beauty.
Absolutely. And, his very true story has ups and downs, as the best ones always do. What we call the trifail cycle, where you're trying to overcome something and then you have, some lessons to learn until you finally can rise. But wow, just the parallels to Viktor Frankl's story and some of the most important lessons that any of us can learn during this lifetime of how to take responsibility for our own lives. It's really quite incredible.
Yeah. I'm looking at some of his sculptures on his website, and these are amazing. This beautiful one, I think, of Ben Franklin, or maybe
Mhm.
that's George Washington, maybe.
No, well, I know he probably has a George Washington too, but I know he has a bench with Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah. That's Benjamin Franklin then. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
pretty good. See, I flunked second grade, but I still know this stuff. Yeah, look, it
What's
kind of
cool
looks.
too, Chris, can I
Mhm.
can I share with you? He found out that less than 20% of the United States outdoor statues contained women. So
Oh,
all on
wow.
his own, he created a woman series. So he's got like Mother Teresa and Harriet Tubman and Joan d'Arc and several other really amazing women that he created these large life-size sculptures for. So he's quite a contributor, if that makes sense.
There you go. Well, this is amazing. I when I was a child, there was a guy who lived on our street who was a sculptor, and my parents were ultra religious, ultra cult, ultra religious. I have my own scars from childhood. Can you tell?
Mm.
And everyone's like, "Yeah, we've seen him." But they had issues with nudity and different things like that, and so I would go mow his lawn. I think he paid us to mow his lawn or something. And he had this expansive, spacious yard. It was Southern California, and it was just this art. It was when you walk in this yard, you go, an artist owns this home. Like, I don't know what he does, but an artist owns this home. That the home was like, it was just beautiful. And so we used to play through his whole yard. It was like an adventure. But he would take us into his studio, and we get to, he talked to us about sculpting, and he would show us like the artwork he did, and it was beautiful. And a lot of his stuff were nudes, but he would talk to us and teach us about how, we'd be like, oh, that's bad, our parents said that's bad, and he'd be like, no, the frame of the woman is beautiful, this is, and it was kind of like getting taught early then by whoever sculpted the David sculpture and things. And he talked to us about the beauty of the human body and the shape of it, and life and stuff like that. And so we got a whole different perspective of him looking at the sculptures that he would do, and kind of get an appreciation for art. He kind of taught us that appreciation for art as kids, and a different side, of course, of what we were being brainwashed with. And so that really helped us. It really helped us a lot, because we were getting told some interesting thing from the cult.
Yeah, that's a fascinating story. How an artist was able to help you to expand your perspective of life, and help you.
Yeah, because we were told, hey, naked people are dirty. That's dirty to see people naked. That's bad. And he taught us that, how the frame of humanity is beautiful. And I don't know if he influenced any sort of upper frame in us. I don't remember much, but I remember looking at the things, and he would show us how he would work with the clay and all this stuff. So this is really beautiful, and an inspiring story. I think probably in much of a way where he can help people see his journey and learn from his story.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. We talked in your bio about how one of the things you help people do is tell their stories. Why are stories important to people in your words?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have seen through my 20 years of working expressly with story how words and stories can change the world, and how they do. And even we've been talking about these last years where sometimes people will tell stories and they tear each other down. But through centuries, we had stories that helped build each other up. We had stories that helped define roles and understanding of things. And now, as we're in a much more free culture, we have the ability to tell really powerful stories. And the most powerful storytellers are the ones who are changing the world. So, Bill Gates, he had talked about how he was a great businessman and inventor, but a lousy in certain things until he learned how to tell story. And then all of a sudden his whole career took off. And, there's several people. I love this quote by Harold Goddard, who says, "The destiny of the world is determined less by the battles lost and won than by the stories it loves and believes in." And so for each individual, we have stories we love and believe in, but sometimes they're stories of limitation. Sometimes they're stories of great victory and possibility. And so I love to bring those out, to be real and raw and authentic about the lows that every human experiences, but then also to take readers equally high. And when people have an opportunity to see that in themselves, it is really powerful. I was on with one of my clients this morning. He's like, I am finally seeing the worth of my soul and my story because I took the time to be reflective and write my past. And I got chills all up and down because I was like, right? And he's doing this in his early 40s. And, most people won't even try to dig into this until they're 60 or 70, but there's so much power at whatever age we come to be reflective and to recognize, wow, I have been on my own hero's or shero's journey, and I have come back from different cycles with beautiful gifts to share with the world, and it is worth celebrating. Really.
There you go. The hero's journey. I was going to talk about that. It's a common narrative archetype or story template that involves a hero who goes on an adventure, learns a lesson, wins a victory with newfound knowledge, and then returns home transformed. We love these stories of the hero's journey. We love these stories of the phoenix, the rising from the ashes, the going through, trials and tribulations. I don't know anybody in life who goes through a perfect run of life. And I think I tried to espouse that to my young niece and nephew when they were graduating high school. The stuff's going to happen. You think kind of when you're young, you're like, I'm going to do things perfect, and it's going to be a perfect run, and there's not going to be any rain on my parade. Well, you're in for surprise. And these are the stories that really inspire us. We often talk on this story. My audience is probably, he's going to do it again, where stories of this are kind of the owner's manual of life, and that's how we learn from each other about life, and they're the history telling, they're the griots of life, and that's how we learn. But it's also how we keep, I don't talk about this much often, hope springs eternal, and a lot of times we need that hope in life. We need those stories in life, because sometimes that helps us realize we're not alone, and it helps us get through the journey. And we need that bump in life. My way of keeping hope eternal is if I got depressed, I'd sit down and watch Cops for 2 hours. Then when I got done, I'd be like, hey, my life's pretty freaking awesome. I'm not getting arrested today, maybe tomorrow, but I'm not getting arrested today. I'm not the guy in the wife beater on the couch who takes his shirt off and gets in a fight with the cops. My life is doing really good.
There you go.
There you go. I still live in a trailer home, but that's another story. But I watch Cops and I'm just like, wow, I feel really good about myself right now. But no, Hero's Journey is just so awesome. And so you help people shape and tell their stories with what you do in working through your company, right?
Yes, absolutely. It just because most people have a tendency to play small. We've been taught, don't poke your head up, don't have a big head, don't do these things. But if you do really epic storytelling, you're not only vulnerable about the lows of your life, but then you also are going to give yourself credit for the epic rises too. And that's what people need to know, because when they open a book, they're looking to go into another world, to be transformed by that character, to understand what it might take to find the hero or shero inside of them. And so, if you do the little squeaky thing like, oh, I don't want to make it sound like I'm too great, but I also don't want to show any of that, skeletons in my closet. And then there's just a flat story. But when there is that deep level of beautiful vulnerability that makes each human understand one another, because our situations are different. Like I write a lot of extreme stories, obviously, but somewhere in that pendulum of humanity, we can find ourselves and understand and understand that author. But then also when they rise is go, wow, if she can overcome being the 19th wife of 65 women, and she can go on to testify more than 20 times in a court of law, and she can, wear red every time because Warren had outlawed the color red. And here she comes sashaying in and a little bit of red. And the last time she saw Warren, he said to her, I will break you and I will train you to be a good wife. Well, now she comes back in, sashaying in that forbidden red. And it's her way of saying, you did not break me.
Yep.
And there's just, so many elements that we all have in our own story. So I teach the epic storytelling. I teach the best-selling. And it doesn't mean that you stray any strand from the truth. It's about letting your own light shine to such a glorious degree that it actually can assist other people on their journey.
Yeah, I think. Do you find that most people are kind of dismissive? Like they're like, I don't know, I had some things happen. I don't know, I didn't be inspired by them. Do you find that people are kind of that way about some of their stories?
Yes, especially in public and in groups, but privately, 9 out of 10 Americans think that they have a story that would be worth publishing.
Yeah,
it's just less than 3% get it done. So we're about, hey, take a step in the courageous. That's what we do in the Inspired Writers Retreat. It's like, let's come and be courageous and really explore this all the way to the other side, and then see, who actually would really want to hear your story, listen to your story, be inspired by you. It's actually humanity is, everyone has a certain segment of the population that they can reach. And we want everyone to buy our book, right? We want to be New York Times bestseller, have millions of copies sold.
I go door to door.
There you go. I can see that, Chris. I can see that.
That's a good idea.
when we narrow it down to who can I serve with this story, it becomes really personal. That's where I've seen the miracles happen. That's how Oprah happened. That's how Dateline happened. That's how, one woman was able to help, disperse an organized crime unit in the name of God, right? Where they were trafficking young girls. It's like just choosing to show up and to be of service, to do something better for humanity.
There you go.
Cool.
What's the old line? I think it's from Shakespeare. We're all players on the stage. We're all actors and players in the stage, the world stage, and we inspire each other. Something along those lines. I clearly function.
We are merely players. The whole world is a stage, and we are merely players. Yeah.
There you go. So we have so many great authors on the show. Are you listening on the show, people? It's 2 or 3 shows a day. Got to get get the guilt trip in there. But I remember I had one author on the show, and she talked about how, I think I asked her, how do you break through, writing and writer's block and things of that nature. And she says, sometimes I used to have problems writing or what I was going to write about or getting motivated to write or writer's block. And she said, one time I was at a book signing, and this gal came up to me and she told me a story about how she had been in prison, and they had my book in prison, and it was a women's prison, of course. And they had all started reading the book and doing group readings of it. And they were using it to inspire themselves and make themselves better and try and better their life, for whatever had put them into prison. They're like, hey, we should probably, not do this again and come back here again. Let's all go make better lives. And so she told this story, and she was blown away. And she didn't know that, there were people in prison that were using her stories to inspire them. And so she says she keeps now a picture of this lady who, and it's a picture of her in a yellow jumpsuit or orange jumpsuit from prison. And she keeps that picture on her desk so that when she's ever needs some motivation or inspired to write, she writes. And I remember when I was editing in my book, and I was at the point where I was ready to throw out the window, right? There's always that thing. And all my writing friends are like, dude, when you're ready to throw out the window, burn it and just go do something else. You're almost there. Just push through. I'm like, fuck you people. And one of my friends in England, she says, hey man, I want to talk to you. And I go, okay, what? And she goes, listen, there's somebody who needs your damn book, man. There's somebody who needs it. You don't know who that person is. You're probably never going to meet them, but they need this book. They need whatever the message, whatever the story that's in there. They need this. And you're probably never going to meet them. You're probably not going to know them, but you're going to touch them and you're going to move them and you're going to change their life, and they need your book. So you got to get this thing written. And I was like, all right, well, okay, cool. Let's do this. And so those are 2 great stories, I think, that really were amazing. And
I think that's wonderful. And I'm glad that they, you were 3 feet from gold. You've heard that before, but they didn't let you give up. Have you heard that Winston Churchill quote on writing a book?
No, what?
Oh my gosh, you're going to love this because you reflect that. But he says, writing a book is an adventure to begin with. Then it is a toy and an amusement, but then it becomes a mistress. Then it becomes a master, and then a tyrant. And the last phase is just as you were about to be reconciled to your servitude, you kill the monster and fling him to the public.
That sounds like my whole journey through editing.
Yep. I don't ever tell people that when they're first starting, but the people who are in that editing phase, and it's like, just keep on keeping on, because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you get it out to where it makes a difference.
Yeah, the editing was the hardest part, but just getting through it. And I finally, right before publishing, I reached the cathartic moment where I just said I was happy. I've been telling my stupid stories like Agree Up verbally forever. And people are like, he's going to tell the same story again. People listen to the podcast know this. And it was so nice to be able to get the book written, because I don't have to tell the stories anymore. In fact, it's funny. I don't ever tell the stories. I'm like, just go read the fucking book. And so I got to the end, and it was like 1 or 2 days before publish date. And I was like, someone going to buy this book. And I reached a point where I just had a cathartic moment. I said, you know what? I don't give a damn if anybody buys this book. I don't give a damn if anybody reads it. I wrote my book. I finally got this thing done after 10 years of promising myself I get it done. These are my stories. I have memorialized my life in, I don't know, however long Amazon's going to be in business. I'm printing that stupid thing after I die. But I did it. I crossed the mountaintop. I beat the dragon. I won. It's going to be published. I don't care if anybody reads it. I don't even care. I'm not even going to sleep over it. If people want to write horrible criticisms about it, I do not care, because I wrote it, and all this shit in my life, a part of my life, is moralized forever. So screw it. I guess a couple people like this. There's that. Let's talk about your retreat that you do. It looks like you have it coming up in October 5th through the 8th in 2023.
Yes, at this beautiful place right on the Utah-Idaho border called Bear Lake.
Yeah. Beautiful lake. Is it still naturally blue?
Yes, that gorgeous turquoise blue.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. And so how long have you been doing the retreat there, or anywhere?
I've been doing retreats for about 10 years.
Wow.
And up at Bear Lake for about 6. It's just such an idyllic setting and very inspirational. It's people let down their walls faster and their joy up faster whenever it's a natural setting. So I love to do that.
There you go. And so what do people do on their retreat? How does it work?
Well, it's pretty intensive. It's 3.5 days and 3 nights. And so food and lodging, and incredible food, by the way, is all included. So everybody gets to hang out together, but there's plenty of space to write and to go off and do things. We do a lot of experiential learning. So learning you're going to take with you for the whole rest of your life. So if you're in a classroom, on a scale of 1 to 10, you usually will retain about 2. If you do experiential exercises, it's closer to like 5, 6, 7. If you write about it, then you're that 10 or 11. And I love to hit master 11 whenever I can. So it changes people's writing, because all of a sudden they're like, oh, my reader cannot see or hear or taste or smell or feel anything until I put it on the page. And it comes home. And so we do a lot of that. We help break through imposter syndrome and the 3 greatest fears that most people have in writing, completing, and then also being visible in the launch of their book. So we work through those things. They have time to write, and a lot of immersive things, as I was saying, a lot of intensive instruction too. Like we have a full day on the business of your book, because as a businesswoman, I don't have time to mess around with stuff. I want to know the best ways for me as an individual to publish, to get things out. And so I give people, like, here's what's happening in publishing. So whether you're traditional publishing, and here's large, medium, small, if you're going to self-publish, you need to know these things. If you want to indie publish, you need to know these things. And then what's wonderful is I give pros and cons of all of them, because they all have them, pros and cons. And so, and we recently introduced our own Inspired Legacy Publishing imprint, and that has been taking off like wildfire. So I really love that. So I have some clients with books in New York. I have some who are like, I'm going to be speaking on a stage in 4 months, and I want to have a book. And so we work with them to get their books out. And some people may have said to you, well, she doesn't do the expensive business cards. And that's true. I don't believe in just having an expensive business card. Like you filleted yourself like a fish, Chris, out on paper for everyone to read, right?
Yeah.
It might as well be something that could create such an impact that 50 years from now, it's still inspiring people.
There you go.
And that's what I believe in, creating something that leaves a legacy. And so we have so much fun at those retreats, and it's really cool because we, like this last one that was in May, we had people from Saskatchewan, Canada, from Michigan, from Florida, from Texas, from Colorado, from Washington, and Utah, all came together in one place. And now they're like this tight, and they're texting each other, and they're, how's your writing coming this week? And they're talking to one another. It's really beautiful.
That's one thing that helps writers is have an accountability group too. Yeah.
It really does, because oftentimes it's a solitary thing we're doing, squirreled away at home or wherever on our laptop. And then to have someone to say, hey, can I run this by you? Hey, how are you doing? Did you get your chapters done this week? And accountability is great.
Yeah. And then they hit you if you don't, like one of those Catholic nuns, right? that how it works?
Right.
No, you don't do that. There's no hitting people.
No hitting.
No hitting.
No hitting. No hitting.
Yep. The location looks idyllic. It's beautiful. It's got overflow. I mean, if you can't get inspired at this place, and then it's overlooking Bear Lake, like you can't get inspired here. And the food is excellent. I'm looking at some of the food. Do you bring in a chef for that and stuff?
Oh, we do. We always have 2 on staff, and so if you have like gluten-free needs or whatever you might be, and it's very healthy fare, but there's also comfort food. Like they made the most delicious chocolate cake at the last one that I was like,
oh wow.
Orgasmic, right? It was just that good. And everybody else is like, their eyes are glazing over. I'm like, oh, they're loving this too. So the reward at the end of the day for a lot of work. And we have prizes and other things when people stretch, because, you're writing a book, you're stretching. And different things are stretches for different people. And so, when we have one great big lovely grand prize that has to do with story and storytelling. So it's just really fun, amazing. It's usually called life transforming and book changing. Like people just love it. It doesn't matter if you're just starting or if you're 3/4 or 90% all the way through the process. There is something there for all writers to learn.
There you go. 3.5 days and 3 nights. It'll be coming up October 5th through the 8th, 2023. You can do that. And of course, if you're watching the videos 10 years from now, you can probably catch whatever's going on there.
I'll be doing this forever. So
there you go. Just check our website at inspiredwritersretreat.com. It's funny, people. We had to quit putting the price on reviews and different things. And that's why we quote the we quote the dates on books, because people write us and be 5 years from now and they'll be like, that book didn't come out this year. That's like 5 years old. It's 10 cents on Amazon now. And you're like, dude, seriously, do you look at the day of the video? But so we have to make those disclosures because it's crazy what people put in comments on YouTube. So this is really great. Anything more you want to tease out about what you do and how you do it?
The only thing that I would say is that, if you go to look on the internet, how to write my book, whether fiction or nonfiction, I'm particularly good at nonfiction, but we also have fictional authors that come to our retreat and get a lot out of it. And also in our executive sessions. What I will say is that I'm not one, I have a lot of systems, but there is not one formula. There's not one size fits all. Mm-hmm. And so, whether you go to me or you go to someone else, always make sure that number one, your voice is what is honored at the end of the day. Your ideas, your word selections, other things. People can give you all kinds of beautiful advice. But at the end of the day, you want it to be your story. There's nothing more heartbreaking than getting editing or ghostwriting or anything else, and you're not in your own book. So number one, just own your voice. And number two is to enjoy the journey, because book writing is a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. And if it did, you either downloaded it and God bless you, I think that's awesome, or it came quick and now the time for the magic is in the rewrite. And a lot of really good authors will rewrite their book 5, 6, 7, 12 times until it is beautiful, a magnificent piece of art and something that truly can do something. So get someone who's going to honor your process. And if, like Gary, if you come from a background where you have intensive amounts of healing to do, then write for yourself first. Forget about writing to the world. Write for yourself first, because you'll have more compassion and understanding and you'll like you better now. It's a very cool process. And then when you go to write the second draft and the third draft, then and in that magical rewrite, you already know what you have to say now. Now direct it to your avatar, that one person that you can have an intimate conversation with that will truly benefit from what you have to offer. That's how you reach millions. Is that depth of intimacy.
And reach yourself as well, like as you just said. I mean, it's sometimes you learn, I'm 55, you live a life where you start forgetting stuff. You forget some of your accomplishments, you get some of the things you did, some of the lessons you made, some of the mistakes you can share. And then you sit down and you go, what happened? And, you start finding stuff. You're like, hey, that was actually, I'm really not that horrible of a person. I am, but don't worry about that. Let's put that aside for now. But
self-deprecating humor. I hope that's all throughout your book.
yeah, we try. But it's a thing where people you get to know yourself better, and it's almost a healing journey. I mean, I've written most of my life, but not written in book format. If I could go back, I probably would write more in book format. I mostly run on Facebook, and people are like, shut up, you're stupid. But that's Facebook. But being able to write and talk about things and put your things down. I mean, a lot of successful people journal, and so that's kind of their writing. And so, kind of helping you work through cathartic moments and stuff. And then what's great is you go back and you look at some of the stuff you wrote, and you're like, I was a real idiot 10 years ago.
And you're like, thank God I learned that lesson.
Thank God I learned. And then I go write some more stupid crap on Facebook. Anyway, it's been wonderful to have you on the show, Bridget. Give us your .coms, wherever you want people to look you up on the interwebs, please.
Sure. So for my retreat, it's inspiredwritersretreat.com. And my main website is Your Inspired Story. YourInspiredStory.com. And find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram. I'm known as the Book Whisperer. I'd love to see you on there.
The book, you should be the book screamer, maybe. That'd be better. You could be the book screamer. Hey!
If I was the screamer, then you wouldn't have your voice, right? I just whisper loving things and sometimes directives.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe you could be one of those. You'd be one of those yelling coaches, kind of like who's that? Who's that comedian? Sam Kinison. You could be like Sam Kinison, where you just scream at people. Write your book, damn it! Ah! I don't know, whatever.
I'll be the accountability. So here's good cop, right? Oh,
good cop and bad cop.
Here's bad cop. Get your book done.
The whole head goes around.
Oh, my husband will tell you that happens all the time. We're good.
Well, there you go. So order up the book, folks, wherever fine books are sold. Divine Turbulence, Navigating the Amorphous Winds of Life by Gary Lee Price, Bridget Cook-Burch as well. Thank you very much, Bridget, for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure, Chris. Thank you so much.
There you go. And thanks for my audience for tuning in. Be sure to go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. Subscribe to the big LinkedIn newsletter and the big 130,000 LinkedIn group over there. And follow us on TikTok, because we're trying to be cool. And I don't know, the kids over there are like, who's this old dude? Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next time. And that should have us out.